You believe that genius is high calculation speed. You believe that if an individual builds a heavy rocket or collects 1 billion clicks on a digital screen, that individual possesses true mastery. You are incorrect. Look at your modern heroes. You watch engineers optimize factory throughput. You watch digital creators optimize viewer retention graphs. You study their spreadsheets. You track their daily output. You call these people geniuses. You copy their operational routines. You wake up early. You analyze conversion data. You isolate variables. Then you look at the human outcome of this work. What do you find? You find total technical execution paired with total spiritual exhaustion. You see platforms that capture all human attention, yet create zero human courage. You see industrial empires that move material at extreme speed, yet leave the public mind fragmented and anxious. Why does a modern builder with total operational leverage fail to inspire the human soul? Why does an individual with 50 million active followers leave you empty after 10 minutes? While a single notebook page from Leonardo da Vinci, written 500 years ago, alters how you look at the sky forever. The answer sits in a structural mistake you make every single day. You separate raw processing power from character and holistic wisdom. You treat intelligence as an isolated computation engine. Let us examine how you build your current systems. This is your primary narrative. We will call it the operational line. You wake up and you look for leverage. You want to scale an enterprise or capture a market. You treat your mind as an optimization tool. You feed it specific technical data. You study algorithmic distribution. You study user psychology to keep eyes locked on a panel of glass. Mr. Beast understands the mechanics of human reflex. He tracks the exact second a viewer looks away. He cuts the frame. He increases the audio volume. He changes the lighting. He injects immediate visual motion. He solves the mechanical problem of viewer retention with absolute mathematical precision. Elon Musk understands the mechanics of physical constraints. He takes a battery pack. He breaks the pack down to raw material spot prices on the London Metal Exchange. He rebuilds the manufacturing steps to remove human labor and reduce cycle times. He solves the mechanical problem of industrial cost with absolute physical precision. These are genuine masteries of isolated physics and psychological mechanics. But notice what occurs when these systems reach scale. The content engine demands larger spectacles to maintain the same retention curve. The creator must destroy more objects, build larger sets, and shout louder. The metric increases, but the human elevation drops to zero. The audience watches for 10 hours, closes the application, and feels a deep sense of wasted life. The industrial engine moves faster, yet the cultural fabric around it degrades into anger and tribal conflict. The machine expands, the human diminishes. Now, let us cut to the secondary line. We will step into Florence in the year 1490. Leonardo da Vinci sits in a cold room. He does not have electricity. He does not have a distribution network. He does not have an audience of millions. He has a piece of paper, charcoal, and a dead human arm that he bought from a hospital worker. He cuts the skin. He studies the muscle fiber. He does not do this to sell an anatomical chart. He does not do this to win a market. He does this because he believes that the physical structure of a human arm shares a mathematical geometry with the flow of a river and the movement of wind through an oak tree. Look at how Leonardo worked. He did not isolate his intellect into an engineering box. He studied hydraulic engineering in the morning to drain marshes. He studied painting at noon to understand how light bends through water droplets. He studied geometry in the evening to understand the proportion of sacred buildings. He spent his nights writing moral philosophy and analyzing the ethical duties of a master craftsman. Leonardo possessed extreme raw computation, but he bound that computation to deep character and unified philosophical wisdom. He understood that raw intelligence without moral proportion is merely an engine without a steering assembly. To Aristotle, this was the difference between three distinct ideas: tech, episteme, and phronesis. Tech is craft skill. It is knowing how to edit a video to keep a human looking at a screen. It is knowing how to weld a steel tank. Episteme is scientific law. It is knowing the mathematical equation for gravity or electrical resistance. Phronesis is practical wisdom. It is the ability to know what is good for human life as a whole. It is the moral character to decide what deserves to be built, what deserves to be ignored, and how an action affects the soul of a community. Modern society took tech and episteme, accelerated them with digital computation, and threw phronesis into the garbage. You live in the wreckage of that choice. Look at your own projects right now. You believe your primary bottleneck is lack of technical optimization. You tell yourself, if I improve my click-through rate by 2%, I will achieve success. You tell yourself, if I work 2 more hours per day on this code, I will win. You are running faster down a road that leads to a cliff. When you optimize only for distribution, you become a slave to the distribution channel. You no longer direct your work. The lowest common denominator of the crowd directs your work. The algorithm detects that anger produces high engagement. You produce anger. The algorithm detects childish spectacle retains attention. You build childish spectacle. You trade your internal sovereignty for an external metric graph. This is why modern geniuses fail to become true inspirations. They do not lead the human spirit. They follow the machine's optimization requirements. They are brilliant components inside a larger mechanical system. They are not independent masters of life. Return to Leonardo. When a patron asked Leonardo to build military fortifications, Leonardo engineered the walls with supreme technical skill. But in his private notebooks, he refused to publish designs for an underwater breathing apparatus. Why? He wrote down the reason clearly. He knew that wicked men would use the machine to sink ships and murder sailors in secret. Leonardo possessed the technical capability to build the weapon. He possessed the epistemic understanding of water pressure and air supply. But his phronesis, his moral character, and integrated wisdom governed his engineering output. He controlled the craft. The craft did not control him. Look at the difference in output between these two frameworks. A pure technician gives you an optimized platform that fragments your attention span and sells your behavioral data. You use it, but you do not revere it. You feel dirty after using it. A classical synthesizer gives you the Mona Lisa, the Vitruvian Man, and the treatises on water flow. You look at these works hundreds of years later, and they demand that you become more observant, more disciplined, and more human. You must choose which architecture you will build in your own life, if you wish. To escape the modern trap, you must change your operating system immediately. You must stop acting as a narrow technical calculator. You must build a unified intellectual framework. First, you must force cross-domain integration into your daily work. If you are an engineer, you must study classical painting, narrative structure, and Stoic ethics. If you are a writer, you must study thermodynamics, computational systems, and accounting. Do not do this as a passive hobby. Do not do this for recreation. Do this because truth is structurally identical across all domains. When you understand how a mechanical fluid system manages pressure, you understand how an organizational hierarchy manages stress. When you understand how a painter balances light and shadow, you understand how to structure silence and sound in human speech. The modern world creates specialists who understand everything about one small screw, but cannot comprehend the machine that holds the screw. Classical genius understands the entire machine. Second, you must install character as your primary constraint on leverage. Leverage without character is a cultural poison. Before you optimize any funnel, before you scale any operation. You must ask the foundational question. If 1 million people consume this work, does their internal capacity increase or decrease? If your work captures attention by exploiting human weakness, you are not a genius. You are an extraction merchant. You are burning the cultural forest to sell charcoal. True genius does not exploit the cognitive flaws of an audience. True genius builds scaffolds that pull the audience up to a higher state of understanding. Third, you must disconnect your definition of success from machine validation. The metric is an indicator of velocity. It is never an indicator of worth. A high retention graph means you successfully triggered an ancient neurological reflex. It does not mean you created something of lasting value. When you build from wisdom, you accept friction. You refuse to remove the difficult ideas just to increase retention speed. You make the students struggle with the principle because you know that genuine comprehension requires cognitive effort. You ask the difficult question before you hand over the simple formula. You break the common misconception before you present the structural truth. Look at the modern landscape again. The space is crowded with brilliant operators who possess zero wisdom. They shout into cameras. They build automated funnels. They optimize their lives down to the second. Within 5 years of their retirement, no one will remember their names. Their output will vanish into the digital noise because it contains no human soul. It was merely computational efficiency applied to empty containers. You have the opportunity to build differently. Stop worshipping raw calculation speed. Stop measuring your value by the size of your distribution pipes. Reconnect your intellect to your moral character. Synthesize your technical craft with deep, universal principles. Demand that your work does not merely capture attention, but actively elevates the mind of the human being who encounters it. That is what modern genius misses. That is the leverage you must now claim.